always trust the spirit, because sometimes if we don't understand, that's okay. It's not meant for us to understand. The person that we're reading will understand. Then it's just like, whoa, was this huge validation. So even if something doesn't match your symbolism, trust the spirit's message, and go with that.
Hey guys, welcome to our SoulFam Podcast where I interview space holders from all over the world. I'm your host, my name is Karolina, and I am the Connection Catalyst. I help spiritual entrepreneurs experience deeper connection with themselves, with others, and with the universe. Today on the show, we have Tiffany Reeds, the Reiki Master, the Angelic Channel, and the Psychic Medium. Welcome to the show, Tiffany. How are you doing?
Thank you. I'm well. Thank you. How are you?
I'm doing really, really good. I've spent the whole day traveling from one place to the other, but that's the nomad life. So I'm really happy that we're settled now for at least a few days in one place and I can just chill and put my roots into the ground where I'm at.
Yes, and
Which
secure yourself.
Exactly, and just be grounded in Tarifa in Spain, because right now we are chilling in Spain. And yeah, I'm super excited to talk to you because literally, the last podcast yesterday was about psychic abilities and psychic protection and all these things. So I feel like it's such an extension of our conversation from yesterday. Now that I'm talking to you, a psychic medium as well, and I'm just all about these kind of topics. It's just so cool for me to talk about them because it's exciting to know that there is something beyond our physical life and beyond our perception, our five senses. And I'm really just curious about people who have these abilities and who use them on a daily basis, or whenever they choose to, because I guess that you maybe not want to do this all the time, like be in the other dimension all the time. But I'm curious about your story and how did you become a psychic medium? Was it something acquired, or was it something that was there with you from the very beginning? Or how did you even also choose the path of becoming the Reiki master and psychic medium? I would love to hear about your story.
Of course, of course. So, for those of you who don't know, mediumship is the ability to communicate with spirits and entities exist in other realms, other dimensions. So, yeah, I feel like this path kind of chose me um, because of just the way that it happened. I've had the connection with spirit since I was a very, very little girl. Um, And my first connection that I can, an experience that I can remember, was when I was 7 years old. And I literally had woke up in the middle of the night and I saw a little girl at the edge of my bedside, and she had long black hair and a striped t-shirt. And like, I literally saw her the way that I am seeing you right now. And it was just, she was so real and so just right there in front of me. And instead of being afraid, my curiosity, I went out to reach and try to touch her, but my hand went through her. And then immediately I was like, okay, what's going on? And I like started screaming, and I ran into my mom's room, and I was terrified because I'm like, what did I just experience? And then throughout my years of being like a teenager and things like that, I used to get these awful panic attacks. And they were so bad. They were just crippling anxiety. And it would basically interrupt my schoolwork. So I would be in class and things like that. And then I would have to ask the teacher or be excused, and I'd run to the bathroom and try to collect myself, or, want to be, sent home, things like that. Because I would just get this overwhelming sensation of something's coming to me, something's happening. And then every time that would happen, we would find out that either somebody that we knew or somebody in the family had passed away. And I began to start thinking that like I'm cursed or something, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm like, I don't know why I get these feelings and then people die. And but it was nothing, as I began to progress and I have learned about how mediumship works, I realized that all of this was just completely in a sense normal for it to happen.
You
Because it's really it's like the
yesterday
body's way
yes
of like channeling.
yesterday we came up with this quote, paranormal is the new normal.
Exactly. It really is. It's all around us. Like the spirit world is nothing that is I personally believe it's nothing that's outside of this realm. It's something that's very deeply intertwined. So it's incredible of how that works. And but yeah, and those feelings became really, really heavy, and then I began struggling with like anxiety and depression, and I just didn't want to feel. you know what I mean? Because I was feeling so much and I didn't know how to control it. And so I just I ended up not taking care of my body, things like that, and I ended up just slowly kind of mirroring this life that was completely opposite of what I actually wanted for myself. It became a little bit darker and things like that. And then I ended up having a near death experience, which completely opened up my eyes to this realm. And I was just like, no, like it's important to take care of your body. It's important to just be able to experience life to the fullest, and you know that there is something else on the other side. And I ended up meeting with a psychic medium who ended up being my very first mentor. And she kind of described to me how everything that I was feeling, she just validated. And she was just like, this is happening to you because you are a medium. And I'm just like, what? No, no, no. It can't be. I can't be. And she really put that, you know, that lifestyle into perspective and was like, listen, I can either help you open and continue this and you can accept your purpose, or I can teach you how to just shut it off and ignore it forever. And I think that even if I chose that second choice, um, it wouldn't have shut off. I think that I would have gone through
No,
like more waves, more trouble. So
probably
instead I just
not.
started
Probably the
instead I
universe will
started
be like, okay, next life then, psychic medium, born with psychic
exactly.
abilities.
Like you're not gonna get away with this. So I'm just like, okay. So I began to take the steps that I needed to take, and I started working with her. And I remember the very first night that we sat down to do like the psychic training and things like that. It was the very first time that I saw the auric field physically, like with my physical eyes. And I just stopped and I looked at her and I said, "Oh my God, I see all this blue and there's green and there's yellow around you." And she was like, "Oh, you're seeing my aura." And I'm like, "Whoa, this is amazing. This is so cool." And it was just from then on being able to build up, you know, your psychic abilities so that you can have that, so that you're a better medium. Because I feel like every spirit communicates differently. Every medium is different with the way that they, you know, have their messages channeled and their symbolisms and things like that. We're all very unique, and I think that that's like the beauty of it, is like just like finding a medium, if you want to go see a medium that like fits you and fits what you want. So yeah, and being able to channel other beings and other entities, because like I'm a firm believer in interspecies communication, and I really believe that, you know, bugs, in you know, insects, animals, things like that, we really do have the ability to communicate with them. But we have to, just like with spirit, learn how to take a step back and figure out how we can communicate with them and know that it's a different way, but it's still
Hmm.
communication. So
Hmm.
I when I connect with spirit, I see, hear, and feel things. So clairvoyance, clairaudience, and clairsentience. And but I'm not like limited just to those three either, depending on, you know, how the spirit communicates and what they want to bring through. Like sometimes I'll smell certain scents and things like that, or I'll taste things. And so it's been definitely a wild experience with that.
That sounds really crazy, but it sounds cool as well. So I have a few questions based on your story. So
Of
first of all,
course.
how did you experience the near death experience? Like, do you even remember what happened, or do you more like had like a blackout and then suddenly you're like, oh, I have psychic abilities?
So the way that it happened was definitely it was a process. So as I mentioned, like I struggled with anxiety and depression, and so the medication that the doctors had put me on, they had me on like two different medications at the time, and the medications were not supposed to be combined with one another. So then they ended up causing me to have seizures. And began to have these seizures. And it was just I was very aware during the seizures. So they're typically called like simple partial seizures. So that means that the person still has like an awareness. It's basically an aura for like a grand mal seizure. Um, and basically, so it's like my body will contort and things like that, but it will be like as if I'm like in regular motion, and then the world around me is kind of just like going really really fast. It's as if I'm like in a slower speed. um so I had the seizures, and it was just like I was so, it was so terrifying. And the doctor, I remember him telling my parents as I was in the hospital, that because I was hooked up on like a whole like EEG, VEG machine, and like I had like all these electrodes all over my head and things like that, and a camera. And he said like, how we need to closely watch her because her seizure activity is like very active in basically when she falls asleep, and that can be like the most dangerous is when the activity occurs, because you can pass from that. And so yeah, and like it was a really really tough experience. I still get emotional speaking about it, so like if I get a little like teary-eyed and things like that, it's definitely, it's still very close to my heart. And but throughout the process, when I had met the medium and things like that, she had told me, she didn't see this as a forever thing, that I wasn't just going to have seizures for forever. It was just for right now, for whatever I had to go through and experience, and that it was going to awaken me in different ways that, I could have never even imagined. And so it was like that process. And it was literally like, I had a total of, like, I'm trying to think of how many seizures that I had, but it was, I want to say about like four like bigger seizures. And the last time that I had the seizure, I was brought to the hospital, and I was like so afraid. I'm like, oh my gosh, they're gonna have to raise my medicine and things like that. And so I'm hooked up to the machines, everything, and they try to do all these tests and they couldn't explain what was going on. So they had me hooked up to the electrodes, and they're trying to trigger a seizure because the seizure that I came in with and that I was having wasn't showing up on the screen. So they're like, this is odd, because it was, but in the previous months that I was in the hospital. And so like it was very, very odd. And so they were doing all these different tests to see if like I had a stroke or something, and things like that. And then as I'm literally, it's like the next day they had put me on like a private room on the neuro floor, and the doctor comes in, and oh, it's gonna make me so emotional talking about this. But he comes in and he says to me and my mom, I have some news. I just can't explain this. And we're like, oh my God, like what's wrong? And then here we are, we're like thinking, the worst. And he goes, because they did MRIs and everything, all these tests, all these brain scans, and he goes, I don't know how, but your brain is completely healed. Usually seizures like tend to leave like marks on the brain and things like that. And he was like, there was no markings, no trace of you ever having a seizure. It's like your brain is the most perfect healthy brain. And he goes, I cannot explain this. And we were just like, oh my God. And like we're literally like, I'm crying my eyes out. It's like so emotional. My mom's crying, and we're just like, what? And then he's like, yeah, so we can take you off the medication and you're fine. And eventually, yeah, so I was able to be med free. And as weird as it sounds, I haven't struggled with like that anxiety, that depression ever again. You know what I mean? Like I've had my moments where I'll still get anxiety and I'll still feel sad and things like that, but never to the point where I don't feel grateful for whatever I'm experiencing, whatever I'm going through. And I feel like doing that, I said, okay, God, whatever you want me to do, whatever you want me to be of assistance, please, guide me to that path, and let me do that. And so lo and behold, like as the years are building up, I was going to mediumship development circles, and literally getting my certifications to become a Reiki master, and just doing meeting all these different people, doing all these different things, getting used to energy and the way that it works. And yeah, and it just has been such a ride. And, all to up to now, which is like having my own business and being able to, give people the healing messages that they need. And that, it's just, to be a channel for spirit is honestly an honor and a privilege, and it's so exciting, and it's just it's everything.
Oh, I love your
So
vibe when you talk about it. You're so passionate. I love the story as well. This is really, really amazing. And so, do you feel
thank
like this
you.
has ended at this specific point because you have learned the lessons that you needed to learn up to this point, and then the universe is like, okay, now it's gonna be all good from now on. Okay, no marks, all good. It's like that's quite random. Like, why
I
do you think it happened?
I listen, I went through, definitely my childhood was not easy. I went through many different traumatic experiences, and just kind of like not understanding just the way that people are, I guess. Like I really had to learn um that you have to be careful about like the people that you trust, the people that you let in, and like even if you walk around and you say, oh, I try to see the good in everybody, it doesn't mean that you're always going to get that back, though. You know what I mean? It's not always reciprocated, and people can take advantage, and people can do awful things, and it's all of that. So do I think that my lessons are over? No. I think that we always are growing as long as we're living, even on the other side as well, though. They still grow, they still go through the motions. So
Mhm.
it's really just about how we can take a situation and say, okay, instead of why is this happening to me? What is this trying to teach me? How can I move
Mhm.
forward with this? What's the
Mhm.
bigger lesson? So that's trying like the mentality that I've been, building up to this point where I'm like, okay, I know this has to happen because I have to work through something. So
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah, but it's just interesting how it just stopped at some point, right? Like on the fourth seizure you had, it's just like healed itself. So maybe the lessons that you had from the seizures were already learned, and now okay, I'm ready to
Oh
open up
yeah.
and learn other lessons. I don't need this ailment or whatever to teach me anything because I'm already embodying whatever it needed to teach me.
Yeah, whatever needed to come out, and that's what I really think is that, like, especially with mediumship, to be able to have a brain scan and things like that, there have been mediums that have had brain scans, and you can actually see that their brain goes into a different brainwave state when they're channeling.
Mhm.
And so that's the thing. I think maybe if anything, I feel like the seizures have sort of opened up something that was greater, and that different maybe allowed me to access parts of our brain that maybe we can't normally access all the time. So
Mhm.
um, it's definitely it's been a journey.
That sounds
So
freaking cool. I freaking love this story. It's amazing. Thank you so much for
thank
sharing. And another
you.
question I have based on your what you said is how does one discover how they communicate with the spirit world? Because you said that everyone has their own way. And so how to
Yes.
discover what is your way?
So I really believe that like when you first are starting out, like embracing your psychic abilities and things like that, everyone has like a dominant ability that kind of comes through. And I always know like the biggest one that everybody wants to learn is like clairvoyance. Like, how can I see things? I want to see things. I want to, be expanding my third eye, and have that be so open. But it really is about, like, I always tell my clients too, because I do mentorship sessions, and I tell them that it's really important to embrace how spirit wants you to evolve and how your spirit was meant to evolve. So for example, like when I was a little girl, I was always singing. So I would always like just mumbling, like even before I could talk, I would sing, my mom says. So it was just like always going, 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 going. And I think it was because my clairaudience was very open at the time. So I was just like in my head and hearing those sounds and things like that. And then I think it slowly started to change. So it was just like, it went from that to like feeling the anxiety, feeling, the panic in my body from spirits that are saying goodbye, that are passing. So that went into like, that clair sentience ability. And then it was just like, as I began to, as I said, meet the mentor, and I had my seizures experience and things like that, it was just like, boom, I could see now, the aura with my physical eyes. So I really think that it all depends on, you know, how fast you can learn. And that's why I always tell people, do not compare yourself to other people, because everybody's journey is unique. So it's just like, how much time and effort are you putting in? Like I literally say meditation is key. If you want to learn how to expand and enhance your psychic abilities, meditation is going to be the number one thing, because it's going to teach you how to just turn inward. And basically when that happens, when we sit in meditation, we allow ourselves to look within and to be silent, to be still, so that we can then become more receptive to the
Mhm.
energies and entities that are around us.
Mhm.
So meditation is going to be huge.
Is there a
And then also,
specific type of meditation you recommend? for that?
So if you want to do things like mediumship, I would definitely recommend. It's called Sitting in the Power. It's on YouTube. Tony Stockwell has a like a 10-minute one, and he it's a guided meditation where he just kind of gets you into the mode where you're connecting, and you're going outside of your body and you're connecting with source and things like that. And it's a really beautiful meditation. Um, it's a bit shorter, so, like, it's really good for beginners, so that's for, like, mediumship. For, just regular, learning getting to know your psychic abilities, I would just sit there and talk about, just say I tell my clients, I'm like, "Well, sitting there and visualizing." So, like, for example, if you like to go to the beach a lot, but say you don't live near the beach, why don't you take that mental image of the beach that you have in your head and then, like, watch the detail, listen, pay attention. Do you hear any sounds? Do you hear seagulls? Do you hear the waves? Can you smell the ocean air? What does that smell like? Can you feel the sand on your skin? Do you see the waves? Do you see the sparkling the water? So it's really about working with your imagination as well and building up your psychic abilities. Because it's like once you begin to start building up symbolism and you start to get used to basically making a little screen, like a movie screen in your mind, it becomes a lot easier to pick up different psychic like impressions and imprints, so that you're able to kind
Mm-hmm.
of feel like, okay, this is what I'm getting, this is what's coming up. And it also makes it easier for spirit too,
Mm-hmm.
so having that symbolism. So I would definitely recommend, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
those meditations. If you have trouble visualizing, because I know some people do have, they have, like, I believe I want to say maybe it's like a disorder or something like that, but it's basically where they have issues visualizing. You can always work with your other senses, so that could be, just sitting still and maybe watching and gazing into, like, the flame of a candle, or like watching flowing water, and like really tuning into your physical senses that you have in your body to listen to the different background noises. And what do you feel? Do you feel anything? Do you feel the wind? Do you feel other energies around you? So there's many different ways that one can access and tune their psychic abilities.
That's amazing. And I just thought it's funny what you said, how everyone wants to see stuff and everyone wants to be, just, yeah, see everything. And I am the opposite because I am a seer. I'm just like, I don't want to see any crazy shit anymore. Like, my friends' faces turning into aliens or some like, dark energies on people or just some crazy stuff. I just want to feel things, please. And I feel like everyone just wants what they don't have because that seems cooler, right? What people
Yeah.
don't have. But yeah, I totally can resonate with what you were saying about like imagination and how when you can visualize stuff really in detailed way with all your senses, then the communication with the spirit world can be bigger. Because to me at least, I found a few different types of visions that I was getting. So for example, I could have a vision literally as if you imagined something, right? So if I imagine now a mug in my mind, this is one way
Mhm.
of how I got communication from my soul. And the other way is just straight up like eyes closed and things are showing up in front of my face with eyes closed. So that's another way of how communication worked. But it wasn't like imagined in my mind. It was straight up just with eyes closed in front of my face. And then the third is when I had eyes open and I could see, for example, yeah, people's faces changing into something, or my face changing into wolf, or whatever, just other completely different. So to me it seemed like three different ways of seeing, but I feel like everyone can
Yes,
develop all of them as well, just depending on what they do and what
absolutely.
they practice. But to me, I feel like feeling is a very big one that I like to experience, because feelings, emotions are just the giving us such a depth of life. So if you can sense and feel, that's quite cool. But yeah, everyone has their own way of doing it, and it could be also just seeing the signs everywhere, in the newspaper or just a picture or whatever. Like you can communicate in so
Exactly.
so many different ways. So that's super super cool. But I wanted to ask about communication with your angels, because you're an angelic channel. So, what are the
Yes.
ways that angels communicate with us, and how to start this
Oh,
communication?
there are so many different ways that they communicate with us. Everything from music to leaving, pennies or feathers, seeing their silhouettes. Sometimes it can even be like a scent. or for those who can see, it would be, seeing specific colors, things like that. And then also hearing their names, and like not even like, and that's really how it started with me was, I started like hearing the names of angels, and I am like, what is this name? And then I look it up, and then it's a specific archangel. And so that's been, yeah, really really interesting too. And it's just like the little impressions that they give too, like basically explaining, what they do. So it would be like, for example, there was one time when I was literally, so I do the rosary. So every night I pray the rosary, because Archangel Raphael had come, and he had made his presence known to me. And he said that I should be praying and taking more time, and having that devotion, that dedication. So, and if the message wasn't clear enough for that, I had literally found there was nobody home. I had come back home, and I found my rosary perfectly placed on my pillow. And I said, "Oh my God, this is crazy." Like, and I went, and I'm like, this is, impossible, because it's like between the time that, I had left, to when I came back, that nobody else had gone in and out of the house and things like that. So it was so, so fascinating, that happened. And I said, okay, I'll get the message. So a lot of that visualization has come through, while praying the rosary. So, I remember so I didn't have too much, like, I'm very weird with this. So I don't like to look things up. I like to build up my own interpretation of them, and then eventually afterwards, I'll like Google the name or something like that, and see if it matches what I got, to be honest. And so one day, my partner and I, we were sitting in bed, and I was praying the rosary, and then I saw the silhouette. It was like this beautiful golden light of a six-winged angel. And I'm like, it's like this six-winged being. And I'm like, what is this? You know what I mean? So
What
I
is this,
I
and why
turn over.
does it need so many
Yeah,
wings?
I'm like, oh my, why is there so many wings? I'm like, what is going on? Like, what is this? So I
Shouldn't you have
literally,
two?
I look over to my partner, and I go, I'm like, okay, right now I'm seeing like this golden being, and it has six wings. And then he's like, oh, you're seeing a seraphim. And I'm like, what is that? You know what I mean? And then it just slowly and slowly they started to reveal themselves to me. And it was just like, I'll get little things, like there have been times where, I was praying the rosary, and I got the name Thuriel. And I'm like, what is that? What is Thuriel? And I saw the silhouette of the angel, and I got the name Thuriel. And then afterwards I was seeing dolphins. So I'm like, what does this mean? Well, and then it was just about like, I'm like, am I communicating with, like, are you talking about like interspecies communication, things like that? Well, I went and I ended up Googling it, and like the next day, because I forgot about it. And so I Googled it the next day, and then it came up that Uriel is like the archangel of the animal kingdom. And he's all about, interspecies communication. I'm like, this is so crazy. Oh my gosh. And so it's like little things like that. And then throughout my sessions with my clients, they've definitely been just the way that the angels make their presence known. Like, I'll have angels come in for different, like whatever my client is experiencing. So like, say if there's an angel that comes in for forgiveness, or sometimes for conflict, self-love, things like that, a specific angel will come through. And I've had two instances where, so the angel literally, I go and I have my healing session, I come out, and then I review the session, and I talk to the person when we're done. And then I'm like, I said, this one angel wanted to come in, and I'm like, it's Archangel Metatron. And one of my clients goes, oh my God, I was literally this morning calling him in and asking him to come in, and to be there for the session. And then that happened again with another one of my clients. And then she literally was like, this is so crazy, the fact that you're bringing up this angel. And then she was just like, I literally, I said, she is the real deal if she brings up this angel, because I communicated with this angel today. And I went, and sure enough, the angel comes through. And it's such a beautiful and exciting experience too. And it's so validating. A lot of the times too, for people who have lost somebody, they'll literally, sorry, my dog is barking.
It's okay.
um, so literally, like they'll have just the angel come in if they have lost somebody, and it will be about forgiveness. And the messages that they hold, especially if the person didn't have the best relationship with, that family member when they were alive. So it's just, yeah, it's been crazy. And my clients, especially those who are very, psychic and intuitive, when I work on them, they'll say, I felt your energy working on me, but then I saw like this, I just felt this warmth and all these like white golden orbs, and I felt like they were angels, and I'm like, oh my gosh. So yeah, so it's been just so many wonderful experiences with the angels, and just how they can make their presence known just by small things has been wonderful. There's another experience where I was literally, I had a session with my client. It was a mentorship session, and we were talking about just being grateful and being thankful for our guides and for our angels. And I kid you not, a feather fell down as we were speaking at that moment. It gives me like chills. And a feather just flew out of nowhere. The windows weren't open, the fan wasn't on, nothing. And it just flies down. And we were like, oh my gosh. So it's like little
Whose
subtle
wing is
signs like
that?
that.
Whose
Yeah,
feather is that?
exactly. Who's here? So it's just those subtle messages and feelings where it's just like, once you begin to open up your mind and expand the possibility that there are other entities out there that you can communicate with, they're literally, it's so easy. It might feel like they're far away and so far, in another realm, another dimension, but it's crazy how closely our dimensions and our realms just overlap with the spirit world. So that has been, yeah, it's been so exciting and so rewarding too, to just have that connection with them. It's been an honor. But there are spirits too that are not so great, and that's why I always talk about how having that discernment as a medium, you want to be able to discern and protect yourself with the energies that you're working with. You should never just blindly open up, and like I do I seal the room with the archangels before I do any session. I'm always, praying and setting an intention, and also doing some sort of protection ritual and cleansing before and after my sessions, because it is crucial. Like sometimes I've had spirits that kind of want to linger in the house a bit longer, even when the session is done. And that was happening very early on for me, and I was like, "Oh no!" And that's when I really started. I'm like, clearly, not only do I have to cleanse before, but I have to cleanse afterwards. And just a side note is my grandfather, my father's father, he actually was an exorcist. So he in Portugal, and so he would help remove the evil out of people. And basically, my great aunt, my great uncle, his brother and his sister, they have that same ability where they were communicating with spirits, and just with this realm and doing this work. So that's why I'm saying it's very important to be discerning of the energies and, spaces and things that you're working out of, and setting boundaries, and to know that it's okay to set boundaries with spirit, because you don't want to be on all the time, number one, and you don't want to be sleeping, because this used to happen a lot in my journey. In the very beginning, when I was learning about mediumship, I would always wake up at like 3 o'clock in the morning, like clockwork. And I would always feel like somebody's watching me, somebody's there's somebody in the room, and things like that. So it's really important that even like before you go to bed, you set the intention and you shut down, and you're very clear with what you want and what you do not want to occur. Because you don't want to have that open sign, just the lights on all night, it's okay to come in. No, you need to be able to also be human, and to not be open all the time in everything that you do. So yeah, so shutting down and protecting yourself, setting those boundaries are key also in wanting to learn and develop mediumship and just work with the spirit world as well. So
Amazing. Thank you so much. It's really great. Yeah, because you need to be
you're
grounded as well, because
welcome.
we have all these we have channel open up and we have channel open down, and we need to be on earth as well and experience the human experience as well. That's why we are here, right?
Exactly.
So yeah, that's really great. So do you feel like everyone can channel stuff?
I do, I do. So I think everyone's born with, there's maybe some people who have more, it's like a little bit easier for them. And then there's other people that may have to work a little bit harder to get there. It's
Just like
like
at
almost
school.
playing yeah, yeah, and like playing an instrument. Some people can just pick up a guitar and begin playing, and it's like it just came second nature. And then there's other people that may have to take a little bit more lessons to learn. So that's why I'm saying it's the same thing, Lise, with mediumship. The more dedication that you put into your practice, the more of that you'll start to begin to see. And the biggest thing with mediumship too is, I always tell people, I'm like, trust spirit. Like, even if you're like, why am I getting this symbol? This is coming out of nowhere, and you feel iffy about it, always trust the spirit. Because sometimes if we don't understand, that's okay. It's not meant for us to understand. The person that we're reading will understand. Then it's just like, whoa, was this huge validation. So even if something doesn't match your symbolism, trust the spirit's message, and go with that. So that's another big thing too, is learning to trust not only in yourself and your own abilities, but with the spirit world, and having that connection. And just being able to make like a dedicated practice. So for example, if somebody wants to better strengthen their psychic abilities and their mediumship abilities, what they can do is they can set a time. Say like 1 p.m. every day. They can just sit for 30 minutes or so and just sit in meditation and allow that to be the time where they invite spirit in, maybe get some messages, things like that, and then close down. And this can be done with like automatic writing, just like normal meditation, like we said, visualization. People can use, pendulums, tarot cards, things like that, to really connect and to tune into the spirit world. So I definitely think that it's possible for anyone to connect. So
Hmm.
it
And
just
when
takes time.
people And when people want to connect to a specific entity, is it like you can pretty much pick who you want to connect with? So, for example, okay, I would like to connect with Archangel Metatron because I just really love this energy. Do I need to, for example, vibrate on a specific frequency in order to be kind of like a vibrational match to open up to this specific energy? Or is it just my intention and I'm a powerful creator of my own reality? So, if I set an intention and sit in meditation and practice and open up to experience these psychic let's say messages from the other world, then at some point it's just gonna happen.
So, from my experience, what I believe, so angels and even people who have passed, spirits, they tend to vibrate on a higher frequency. So, although, like when we're getting ready to channel and to do that meditation, we raise our frequency, they actually lower theirs so that they can blend with our aura so that we are able to make that connection, have that communication. So, it's really, I always tell people, it's all about intention. Intention is everything. So, even for meditations, like if you have different intentions of like, say, oh, I want this meditation so that it just calms my anxiety, or I want to use this meditation to enhance my psychic abilities, or I want to connect with Archangel Metatron, things like that. By bringing that energy in and putting that intention out, you're already setting the bar and letting spirit know what you want to do and how you want to connect. And then it's, even if it doesn't happen in that split second, that split moment, I always tell people, don't get disappointed, because angels especially have different ways of letting us know that they are with us at that time. And it's like Archangel Metatron, he also works deeply with like healing and the chakras and things like that. His energy is so big. It is so big. Like when I first met him, I'm like, whoa, like his energy just feels extremely large and powerful. And I always just feel this like sense of like purple and this pink. So pay attention to like the colors that you might be getting, and to feel that presence. Maybe if you get like the chills going up your arm, things like that, or you feel a warmth, a sensation, all of a sudden maybe you feel peaceful and calm. Pay attention to those things, because or even like this happened with my partner. He saw a bird that was like in his mind that was like pink and green, and those were the colors that were coming through for him of how he communicates with Archangel Metatron. So it's very neat about how the angels communicate. So definitely pay attention to that. But intention is everything. Everything when you're doing, any type of spiritual work.
I totally agree with that, especially that I had this one experience that I already spoke about, but I want to bring it up briefly. That I did like a half an hour meditation just with the intention to relax and connect to your inner guidance system, whatever it means to you. And I was just like, okay, in this half an hour, I didn't really feel much. I was just chilling, okay, relaxing my body. But in the night, I was just astral projecting and meeting my guardian angel, just literally seeing him sitting behind the desk and just talking to me. I'm like, what the hell is happening? And in the middle of the night, I was just like chilling and talking to him and asking him questions and just really, yeah, just having a conversation. I'm like, this was crazy because during the meditation, nothing happened. But then during the night after the meditation, I was just like out of my body. And then I really felt this like kind of like hands just pulling my legs back to my body. And I woke up at like 3 a.m. in the night. I'm like, what the hell just happened? How come? But it was only an intention and only, one meditation that has brought me to this experience. So I was just like, wow, this is so cool how powerful our intentions can be. But also, if you're already channeling stuff, how do you know if it's not just you making things up and your mind governing it, or whether it's actually this energy that you'd like to channel coming through? How do you differentiate?
So so I can't speak for everybody, but I know like this happens with me. When I do a mediumship reading, my mind goes completely blank. So I know this is going to sound so weird, but it's like when I do get, I go into meditation and I prepare for the session, and I just open up my channel and then I invite whoever, wants to come through in. Um, I find it really hard to even for me to have a thought. Like it's very strange the way that I can explain it, but it's like my mind just goes blank and just it's kind of like I want to say it almost like flat lines where there's like nothing, and then it's just like I will get an impression, I will get a message. So sometimes, I'll feel like a physical sensation in my body, or I'll see something, or I even like will hear the spirit speak. So that's kind of like the way that it works for me. With so like with other people, like with my clients, for example, it can be anything through just a form of writing. Like I have this one client where she's a phenomenal artist, and she actually can will get like spirits in her mind, and then she will paint and draw them out on a piece of paper. So it's like a way that she's channeling and getting that out. Um, so I feel like having that ability is just it's such an exceptional and just beautiful gift, and because it's so unique too. So anything that's like where people are, I like for artists and things like that, like singers, it's like a lot of the times like inspiration may come to them in the bathroom or something like that. Like a lot of, I know this might sound weird, but a lot of my inspiration comes when I'm like in the shower or in the bathroom. And it's because, so like the way that it works is that, like, in the bathroom, you have water. There's like a flow of water. And I always say that like when water is around, like spirit has an easier way of like manifesting. And, with that being said, bathrooms are usually kind of closed in small spaces, right? So it makes it easier to begin to feel a spirit's energy and to get downloads of information. So even if you just have a spark of an idea, or it could just be like, oh, you know what, like all of a sudden, maybe something that you're going through, a situation, you just have complete clarity. That's a channel. That's you downloading. That's you getting that message from spirit. And that's why I always say, like, pay attention. If you're prone like me, like I'll be prone, like I'll think of something, it'll be a great idea. And if I don't write it down, I will completely lose it forever. I will just lose that idea. So it's like I always tell people, I'm like, if that happens to you, always like write it down. Make sure that you have something, because I've noticed too, whenever you channel a message, it becomes easier to forget the message as well, because sometimes whether we choose to act on it or not, or if it's for like somebody that we're reading, for mediums, if it's someone that they're reading, they might not remember everything that they said in the session, because it's just like it wasn't meant for them. It was meant for the person that was sitting there in front of them. So again, it's just, yeah, it's like little things like that that really help you feel like, whoa, this is happening, this is channeling. And then also, as weird as this sounds, so mediumship, I notice, tends to come in from like the back of the third eye chakra. Also, for those who are very in tune, very like heart space oriented, they have an easy way of connecting with, think about it, with animals and other entities and things like that. So I always say, like, people who have just an overflowing amount of love that comes out of their heart, it's they always have a great connection with spirit and with angels. And also, for channeling, to feel that, like when I channel and things like that, whether it's an energy healing session, a mediumship reading, I will feel as if my energy is being pulled from the top of my head, as if I'm like taller, if that makes sense. It'll feel like my energy has stretched taller. And that's literally just my auric field expanding so that I'm able to work out of the higher realms. So that's why I'm always tell people, I'm like, pay attention to what your body is feeling at those moments, because that's how you're gonna know, like, oh, am I just making this up and things like that. And especially beginning with mediumship too, and like, and just throughout mediumship in general, know that it's okay if, like, you're getting something and the person may not click with it right away or something like that. I always tell people, like, that's okay, because even if they don't click with it right now, it doesn't mean that, oh, then they went and asked their like Aunt Sally or something, and then she connected with it. So I always say, like, be sure and be aware that, whatever you're getting, to have that trust, and don't be afraid to be wrong either. So that's another big big
Hmm.
lesson, with channeling and with mediumship. So everybody's a channel. When we do different things, when we dance, when we move our body, when we write, when we sing, and things like that, you're really allowing that creative space to open so that you can be a channel. So it's really about how to navigate that channel, how to navigate those energies so that you can get that energy out. So
Wow, that's amazing. Thank you so much for sharing all that. I really feel
oh,
inspired even more now to open up to my even more of my psychic abilities, maybe even more ways. Although, yeah, I also mentioned it yesterday on the podcast once when I set an intention to open up to hear stuff. It freaked me out so much. And I'm like, okay, guys, please do not talk to me anymore like this. And it was as you said, it was from the back of my mind as I heard the voice. I was in between like sleeping and dreaming, like in this in between state. I cannot even
yeah.
describe it. And I heard the voice coming inside of my head from the back of my head. And it wasn't like because it was. I don't know, freaking me out a little bit. I was just like, okay, I'm
It's
living on my
like,
own right now.
no.
Please do not talk to me anymore. Like, I don't want to hear you. Nope. I just want to live my human life, just ordinary experience. No voices in my head. That's all good. But yeah, I know that it might be quite funny. But yeah, at that time it freaked me out. Maybe now I can open up to it more because I feel more safe within. But yeah,
Yeah,
thank you
and
so much for
you're welcome.
sharing everything.
You're welcome. Yeah, you can always learn and grow and communicate with spirit, and you can always ask your guides and things like that to, let me unfold, let these abilities unfold slowly to where I'm comfortable, things like that. So it's awesome. It's an awesome experience. So
Yes, it's amazing.
thank
Thank you
you.
so much. And last little question I have to you. If someone really loves your vibe and would like to connect or maybe have a psychic reading or something, what's the best way to contact you and find you?
Perfect. So they can either follow me on Instagram, which is at Tiff Reeds, or they can visit my website, innerworkingsofthesoul.com. I only book and schedule on my website. So any other, pages or things like that, or that say they'll get an appointment through a direct message, things like that, it's not real. It's not me. So you can only book a session through my website.
That's important to mention nowadays
Yes,
with all this scammy stuff going on.
exactly.
Thank you so
You're
much. I love
welcome.
your
Thank
energy. I
you.
love your
Thank
vibe. I love everything
you.
that
You
you shared.
too.
And I'm super grateful for sharing yourself with our community. So, yeah, sending you so much love
Thank
and
you.
gratitude,
Thank
beautiful
you.
sister.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, beautiful souls, for listening to us. If you'd like to find me, I am the Connection Catalyst on Instagram. I'm super grateful that you are here tuning in.